Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. You know, so far this year, our city has seen already more than 100 homicides. Concern over gun violence, understandably, is growing. Now we're heading into the summer months. This is a time that we typically see a spike in shootings. And right now, unfortunately, we are on pace for another record year for murder here in Indianapolis. So tonight, we're digging into new city efforts to stop the violence before it starts. And we let you know how you can get involved. But first, let's start with a movement a group of mothers started, all in hopes of making a difference for families.
Well, such a beautiful night here in Noblesville, but a very heavy topic being thought about and discussed here, the topic of gun violence on this National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
I worry about what kind of world my daughter is going to grow up in.
A Noblesville mom and former teacher, Emily Crapnell, feels she has more than enough reason to. Emily was just a few months pregnant with her first child, teaching at Noblesville West Middle School, when a 13-year-old student opened fire in the classroom next to hers, injuring a student and teacher who was able to wrestle the gun away.
After I was in the shooting, I wondered, how do we teach kids about this? How do we talk to them about it at a young age where we're clearly expressing it's a reality, but we're not scaring them?
Lessons like the ones Emily is talking about are part of the reason she and her family came to this Noblesville Art Gallery Friday night.
And that represents the number of individuals injured daily.
On display at the gallery for the next month are paper boxes.
Are decorated with names or messages
representing the number of people killed and injured every day in the United States by gun violence. Among the images and names on these boxes, the victims of the deadly shooting in April at an Indianapolis FedEx facility. It's all part of the Soul Box project started by a woman in Seattle to raise awareness about the impact of gun violence.
More than 50% of American adults know someone who has been personally affected by gun violence.
Jane Hadeen is a member of Indiana's chapter of Moms Demand Action, a grassroots organization founded by a Zionsville mom after the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut.
It's just devastating when you see these stories come across the news and you know that they didn't have to happen.
Eventually, these paper boxes will be part of a group of 200,000 like them that will be displayed sometime this fall on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. In that display will be a box Emily Crapnell made with her 2.5-year-old daughter, who she now stays at home with after leaving teaching in large part due to the school shooting that happened feet away from her.
You just weigh the risk and you see this beautiful life in front of you and you're like, I'm barely making any money anyway, so why not just be home with her?
Knowing that more than likely her little girl will grow up in a world of active shooter drills at school, just in case, like her mom, there's a shooting at her school.
Outside of your own home, it feels like a lot of it's out of your control.
The city of Indianapolis just announced that it's now investing $3 million for new violence prevention efforts. And that includes cash for new technology, staffing, victims response services, mental health experts, and funding for at-risk youth programs. There also is money set aside for an officer intervention system. This is to increase accountability and flag officers who deviate from department policies. But local FOP leaders argue that this investment comes a little too late and say more needs to be done now to stop the so-called summer surge of violence. There are groups working day in and day out to keep their communities as safe as possible, but a lot of them need support. From volunteering to donating, any involvement you can offer is a huge help. We do have a link provided to some of the local groups that are in need, and we have it posted for you online right now. All you have to do is open the WTHR app. And that's a wrap of tonight's big story.